Hello! Welcome. I'm DC Hewitt here for Fantasy Basketball Analyzer, and thank you for joining me. This is our week 2 prep show where we're going to do some schedule breakdown and then talk about waiver pickups for season long and for streamers. Before I get into that, I want to say thank you. Last week I said, give me some feedback, and you guys definitely gave me feedback in the comments that you want me to try and do some player breakdown videos, keep talking about waivers, and I appreciate that. I also said, this is our small little group of 250, and we've gotten up over 360 in a week. So thank you. I know many of you probably came from the Harris Football podcast and YouTube channel, and welcome to the show. With that in mind, I'm going to give a little more explanation as to how I come to some of my numbers that people from here last year probably already know. So bear with me. I'll try not to be too long-winded, although that's what I'm here for, is kind of talk some hoops with you. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. First up is talking about schedules, right? And to do that, I want to look at strength of schedule. So we use this chart here. And what I do is I check for pace and their defensive efficiency, and I average them out to try and get us which teams we want to attack most. The logic here being, the faster they go, the more possessions they are, the more chance to rack up numbers for fantasy points. And that's what fantasy is, right? In real NBA, you can win slow, you can win fast. But for fantasy, it's a numbers game, and you want to pile up a lot of stats. So the faster you go, the more opportunities. Along those lines, defensive efficiency obviously matters because you want to play with the weak defenses. So I take those two teams, those two numbers, and average them out for the teams to give us the teams we kind of want to attack and want to avoid. It's still early in the season. Let's not get crazy, right? I had to run these numbers before the Sunday game. So we only have 2 games to go on, unless you maybe were delayed, like Houston OKC, which the COVID of this year is going to be a whole different thing for the season. But we're looking at these numbers, and if you look at it, part of the reason I use this is it really also matches the eye test, right? Most of us probably got to see Golden State play the Nets opening night, and Golden State looked horrendous. They looked lost on defense, and these numbers match, right? Based on the pace and defensive efficiency, they're right up there at the top. Memphis, I love them. The Grizzlies are my new adopted team. I've been a lifelong Bulls fan, and they are really hard to be a fan of right now. And Memphis is who I adopt. I love them. I love Ja. They did not look good on defense. They're a lot of fun to watch, but they aren't stopping people from what we saw yet. So they're up here. Chicago, I just mentioned, is up here. Boston's up here, which is a little interesting. They slow down on pace, which means that they really let them go. And I had to look into that. So Boston played the Bucks and Brooklyn as the two teams feeding into here. So they played 2 really good teams in their conference. So it's possible that this is a little bit of fool's gold. I'm not looking to totally attack Boston right now. Washington, they're up here. Their pace is really fast and the defense isn't great, but their defense is a lot better than last year. I don't want to give it, I don't want to just crap all over it because last year they were seriously horrendous. But if you've gotten to watch the game, Beal's definitely trying harder. And, the young guys like Denny Avdia actually looks really solid. And for being his first games in the NBA, I know he played pro overseas, but seeing solid rotation minutes from him, and he looks pretty good. I was really worried about his shot. Someone asked about him on the last video, and I commented, I was worried about his shot, but it's fallen right now. He doesn't get the ball a ton. And with people like Beal and Westbrook, I don't know how often he's going to get the ball. But as long as he's good with the ball and makes some good passes, he's looking solid. He might be one of the young guys that we want to look at. So those are the guys up top. The teams down below, as I'm talking about them, they're kind of what you expect. Brooklyn's down there. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Brooklyn's looked awesome. They looked better than I expected. On offense, they are just kicking asses. But I don't know if the defense is this good. Maybe it will be. Maybe they'll just wear people down so much on offense that, they'll tucker them out a little bit. But I think this is going to change a little bit. Golden State looked terrible. If you've got Oubre, you know how rough their offense is right now, Oubre and Wiggins. And so I think that might be inflating their defensive efficiency a little above where they really are. Philly makes sense to be in there. Miami makes sense to be in there. Minnesota is a little bit of a surprise. So I had to look at, I was just talking about the Nets who played Golden State and Boston being a legit team and Golden State apparently not, at least from what we've seen. Minnesota, I don't expect their defense to be good. So I'm surprised. They played Detroit and Utah. So maybe they just chewed up Detroit a little bit, and that's, skewing my numbers a little bit because I don't think they're really in the best, and they don't play that fast at 105. They're not up there with like Orlando has a really high pace of play at 109, and I'm shocked. but that could be true. But Minnesota's not at the 109. So that's a team I think is going to shift a little bit. If you look at the sheet, I've got like a little question mark there. So we'll see some rotation, but that's the logic. That's how I'm going to do it all season long. Obviously, as we get a bigger sample size, we'll get to know a little bit more. But so we take that and we go look at the schedule and apply it. Now, if we're looking at the week-long schedule view, you know, the big thing is going to be how many games played. Because if you play a whole extra game, you have an advantage. If you're in a weekly lock leagues, this is like huge ramifications, changes everything. If you're in a daily change league, it doesn't matter as much, but it might matter as when the games are played. But we do want to look at things overall to get a sense of what we're looking at. So, you know, the team you're looking at here with more green means more positive matchups based on the numbers I just showed you. So it's showing you some teams like Brooklyn, based on the numbers as they stand now, should have a great week, right? Memphis and Washington were both there in the top 5 teams we want to attack. And they play Atlanta twice. Atlanta didn't work into the top 5, which is surprising because they were just so horrendous on defense and they play pretty fast, but they're not up there right now, but it still looks like a really good week, right? We're still early, small sample size. So you're playing Kyrie, you're playing KD. They also have no back-to-backs, so you don't have to worry about that for this week. And that's going to be a big thing throughout the season, is like wondering about back-to-backs in a good way for people like your streaming players, but in a bad way, if you've got them locked in or you got superstars that are going to need some rest, condensed schedule. Boston has everything going for it. No back-to-backs, weak defensive opponents. I've said Boston. Brooklyn. Brooklyn has everything going for it. I don't want to hammer this too much because it's going to really depend on who's on your team for you making your rotation choices. So it's on the screen. You can pause the video, take a screenshot, whatever you want. Also, because I don't have my website set up fully yet still, I'm going to actually I created this as a Google Sheet. I'll just put the link right in the comments. You guys can just like go right there, look at my private Google Sheets as a view only thing and see all of the grids I'm showing. Hopefully by next week, I'll have the webpage set up. But for now, this is what I have and I want to help you out. So you can click it, look at your teams, help set your lineup. If we're talking about schedule, I do want to mention the back-to-backs. If you're looking for streamers and you're picking up people off of waivers, this is going to be a big deal for you. So there are going to be a lot of back-to-backs this season. And it's going to be interesting to see how it affects it. So if you look, anyone in red's got back-to-backs. If you're seeing someone like the Lakers that I flagged with only one game as back-to-back and like, that means they're coming, you know, it's game 2 of a back-to-back, even though week 2, they only have one game. They're playing today, Sunday, as I record this video, before they roll into Portland. So you'll see the same at the end of the week. So if you're trying to pick someone up, you could pick up someone from Dallas, play them against the Bulls, which aren't stopping anyone right now. And then you get to roll that player, whoever you picked up, into week 3 and not use an extra waiver claim, right? Because you'll get a game right there on Monday if you're in a daily change league. So once again, I'm going to just show this here. I've got the link. You can come check it out. But I do want to just kind of talk about back-to-backs. Like as a basketball thing, there's something interesting going on that we haven't gotten to see in previous years. So last night on Saturday, the Suns played the Kings. Well, they have a back-to-back. And so today on Sunday, the Suns get to play the Kings again, which is pretty cool. Like from a basketball, like fascination standpoint, you get to see it head to head, like no rest day at all. It's almost like a little mini playoff series where you get to see some adjustments and what the teams look like. The downside is, and hopefully you know this already or not, when they condensed the season to 72 games, they decided you're playing your conference only 3 times and you still play the other half of the conference 2 times. So if the Suns and Sac are playing twice, this is already 2 of their 3 games. So if we feel like we learned so much about these matchups and the small forward can exploit this, we only get one more game of it. So it's not like we really get to hammer this later other than a particular night on DFS if we remember what we learned in week 1. But that's what I'm here for. I'm here to try and help learn those things and remind you when those times come. But as a basketball fan, I just think it's really exciting. The Sun-Sacramento game was pretty close. It was a fun one to watch, and now they get to play again tonight. Magic and Wizard are the same way. Orlando and Washington played last night. Back-to-back, they play again tonight. And so we get to see that. So that I think that's a little interesting. And it brings up what I'm showing you right now about week 2. Milwaukee and Miami play each other back-to-back in Miami. So we get to see Bucks play the Heat on back-to-back nights on Tuesday and Wednesday. And as a basketball fan, I'm pretty pumped. And, you know, if you're playing your Bucks, you're not sitting Giannis. You're not sitting like Chris Middleton. And it's a little disappointing because you're not like, ooh, we get to play Miami. Like Miami's a negative matchup. But of course you're playing your superstars. Like don't get too cute with this. But as a basketball fan, I'm really interested to see this back to back and see how it goes. And that's pretty exciting for this year. All right. We broke down a bunch of the schedule. If this was really what you were here waiting for, was like some waiver talk, now I get to enthusiastically scream names at you. Obviously, I don't know everyone on your team, so I don't know, hey, should I cut this guy or not? Obviously, you can leave it in the comments, and I'm enjoying interacting with all you guys. I'll try and respond to everyone I can. Some of it's going to be a feel for your own team and stuff like that. If you follow me on Twitter, last night I was tweeting out, hey, Chris Bouchard is doing great. Like, go take a look. He's only 53% owned. And I was tweeting that when he had like 3 or 4 blocks, and I quickly had to retweet, he's now at 7 blocks, guys. Like, we were halfway through the game when I said this. His ownership's up to 60%. Just last night he was at 53 when I posted it. So you can only get him in 40% of leagues. So he's a little too high for where I like to go for waivers, but 40% is still a lot of leagues that he's available in, and go take a look. I personally cut Larry Nance Jr. to go ahead and get Bouchard even before I realized Love was back. I hope you grabbed Larry Nance last week when I give you the advice. He almost got a triple-double to open the season, which was awesome. I felt good about that. But Bouchard's like a per-minute monster. He was usable last year at times when they had completely decimated by injuries there in Toronto. So I think he's going to get a lot of run. And when he gets a lot of run, he can put up a lot of rebounds and blocks. He's a second unit center. He's not the thickest guy in the world, but he's getting it done. And for fantasy, it's really exciting. I want him on my team if he's available. Alec Burke from New York. He's tearing it up, and he's at right now 34% rostered. So he's widely available. In 2/3 of leagues, you can go get him. And I think he should be picked up. I know he's on the Knicks, and I don't know if people got to see this yet. If anyone has Disney Plus and has watched the movie Soul yet, they throw some great shade at the Knicks, and that's all I'll say. But Burks is with picking up on your team. He's tearing it up. Bad teams, there's always someone who will get a ton of minutes, and he's making the most of it. I would take a look, and like I said, he's only rostered in 34% of leagues. Nick Batum's been coming up. He's getting the minutes with Morris out. He jumped I started working on the show last night and getting the roster levels. He was 17% owned last night. He's up to 25, but that still means available in 3/4 of leagues. Depending on what you're looking for, you can get him and plug him in right now. He might not be a long-term option for all season long, but he's giving you a little bit of everything. It's not going to hurt you too much. Along those lines, if you want to pick someone up for, semi-long term, Kyle Anderson's getting a lot of run for Memphis right now. He jumped from 11% rostered last night up to 19%, but still 81% of leagues. He's still available. And with Triple J out and Clark came into training camp a bit late because he was dealing with some nagging stuff, Kyle Anderson's getting a lot of run. You can play him at power forward. He's getting a lot of minutes. He's kind of running the second unit from what I've seen. Obviously, he's only been a couple games, so that could change. But I would give all those guys a look for picking up and playing them for a while. These aren't just, hey, here's 1 week streamers. But now, hey, here's some 1 week streamers. Let's talk about some other guys. Dylan Brooks, Memphis has 4 games this week. He's just under that 50% threshold. So if you want to get a bunch of points for some reason, go ahead and pick up Dylan Brooks. Memphis' schedule, the Brooklyn, Boston, Charlotte, and the Lakers. You're not super excited about it, but something to note with this week's schedule, if we're talking streamers, Tuesday and Friday have 10 games. You're probably not going to get to use a ton of guys on, Tuesday and Friday in your daily change leagues, but Memphis isn't playing on Tuesday. So on their Monday and Wednesday, you might be able to get him in the lineup. So if you pick him up today, you could go try and get him against Brooklyn. Like I said, their defense says they're not someone you want to attack, but Brooks has been hot and he's available. I would take a look at him. He's got 4 games this week. Along the 4-game line, Mason Plumlee. NBA terms, maybe I'm not screaming the praises of Mason Plumlee a bunch, but he starts the week. So Detroit has a 4-game week. He starts the week against Atlanta and Golden State. So you get a back-to-back against 2 teams that are probably worth attacking. And then he ends the week Boston on Friday and Sunday. In fact, the Sunday games are rolling into a back-to-back for next week. So if you pick up Mason Plumlee, you might be able to get him in there for all 4 games. Maybe not that Friday game, depends on your lineup. But he also rolls into a back-to-back for next week, so maybe you're even saving a roster move for that. So I like him a lot. He's 34% rostered right now. And then looking at 11, Kevin Huerter is getting a lot of run right now because they got some injuries and some rotation things. He's not going to be a long-term option, I don't think, because I think the roster is a little too packed and he's going to get squeezed. But he's rostered in 47% of leagues, so you can pick him up in more than half the leagues. He's got 4 games this week. Atlanta plays Detroit, Brooklyn again, and Cleveland. So if Brooklyn's really a stay away from matchup, if they're scary, this maybe isn't a great week. But I don't expect Detroit to be great. Cleveland, well, they weren't, a team we wanted to attack based on the current numbers. They were horrendous on defense last year. So I kind of expect them to be at least a plus matchup, even if they're not in the top. So it looks like a pretty good week. They avoid being on the Tuesday game. So there's a good chance you're going to be able to get him in there in the Monday and Wednesday if you're looking for that matchup. And then it's got a back-to-back Friday and Saturday. So depending on when you want to pick up Red Velvet, you can get him in there. All right, this feels actually like it's pretty long. So now's the time for anyone who made it all the way through the schedule stuff, through me enthusiastically screaming names at you. I want to just kind of throw open. I love the feedback. I love the comments. Love the questions you asked me about your team. Tell me you want videos and waivers and stuff like that. And then just for funsies, I want to share some stuff with the people who actually hung through. I hope you guys had a happy holiday and have a happy new year coming this week. I wore my holiday hoodie from my former life when I worked in a very different job. If you guys see my holiday pot leaf here with my Wafflebot on the back of the hoodie, if you know where Wafflebot is from, let me know. No cheating, no IMDb. If you know where this is from my former life, former job, go ahead and post that down below because I'll get a kick out of that. And then other exciting news for the channel is we've got a new logo. My brother hooked me up with some designers, and so we have this new little guy right here. What I'm asking of you guys is, if you're someone who stayed all the way to the end of the video, you're hardcore, and we need to name this guy. Obviously he looks similar to someone else here on camera, but our little mascot deserves a name, and I understand what I'm doing, like how risky this is. I'm asking the internet that named a ship Bodie McBoatface, to help me name the mascot. But let's throw open the doors. Let's see what you guys can come up with. Thanks so much for watching. We're going to get some more videos coming out to you as soon as we can. Start pumping out more than one a week. But thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and go out and win your week.